Hey everyone. All right, so this will be my online video tutorial for emotion. We covered motivation last week, and this is, normally together it's motivation and emotion. As I stated, I think in the online Zoom class, motivation, the first part was a lot easier. The emotion part is more difficult, and that's more of what they pull from on the AP exam normally. So, to give an introduction and hopefully help you understand, um, motivation was what drives our behavior. Emotion is three things. Number one, you have to have some kind of body response to an emotion. Like there has to be a bodily response, there has to be an expressed behavior, and you have to be aware of your experience. So think of all of the emotions, that you experience. Things like fear, anger, happiness, sadness. These are all emotions, right? And so, what we're going to delve into is what causes these emotions, what's the body response for these emotions, and what's universal versus what's cultural specific when it comes to emotion. Okay, so that's going to be the big thing we're going to discuss. To start off with, there's the physical, expressive, conscious experience. Start off with, we have to talk about the three theories of emotion. And you have access to this PowerPoint, so you can see it, but you also have access to everything that's in your textbook for it. And you're filling out your content notes on this. So there are three theories of emotion: James Lange, Cannon-Bard, Shatner-Singer. Okay, why there's three theories of emotion and why we debate about the three, I'm just as confused as you are. I think it's rather pointless, but here we go. The three theories of emotion have to deal with the body response and the expressed behavior, the emotion. James Lange, two people who worked on a theory of emotion, say you have to have a body response before you have an emotion. Okay, so the body response comes first, and then you experience the emotion. Cannon-Bard say that the body response happens at the same time as the emotion. And Shatner-Singer say you have a body response, then you use your mind to label the response, and then you experience the emotion. Okay, so James Lange, you have a body response, and then you experience an emotion. Cannon-Bard, the body response happens at the same time as the emotion. And Shatner-Singer say you have a body response, you use your mind to cognitively label that body response, and then you experience the emotion. So this is the example. Let me make this big so you can see it. This is the example. Be very scared. There's a car coming towards you. Okay, you've got a car coming. Obviously, that's something that would give you fear. The first one under James Lange says your heart starts pounding, and because your heart is pounding, you experience fear. You would not experience fear if your heart wasn't pounding. That's James Lange. Cannon-Bard says it happens simultaneously. Your heart pounds and you experience fear at the exact same time. Shatner-Singer, who I agree with out of the three of these, even though I don't know why we're arguing this, but Shatner-Singer says your heart is pounding and you label the oncoming car as something that you should be afraid of, so therefore you experience fear. Without the cognitive label of you assessing the situation and saying, this is something I should be scared of, you don't experience the fear, according to Shatner-Singer. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's the first thing we're going to talk about, are those three theories of emotion. Okay, James Lange, Cannon-Bard, Shatner-Singer. Let me know if you don't understand those or if that's confusing. Read your textbook about it and let me know. They're going to be on your FRQ assessment. Okay, one of them, two of them, maybe all of them. We'll see. Obviously, if we're going to talk about emotion, and we're going to talk about things like fear or anger or things that happen kind of automatically in our body, then we're going to talk about our autonomic nervous system. If you remember, your autonomic nervous system are things that happen automatically. When we were in class together, I joked about things like no one in class was closing their eyes and going heartbeat, 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 because it's part of your autonomic nervous system, and that's something that happens automatically. I don't have to go in a room and concentrate on digesting my food because digestion is automatic. It happens in your autonomic nervous system, okay? Your autonomic nervous system is going to have two parts, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Remember, you should be sympathetic to somebody that's in a crisis. And this was what we talked about that would kick in where you have the sear of adrenaline in a situation. And when we referenced this the last time, I said when it sounded like a bomb went off and I was going to leave y'all and run up to the armory to be safe. And then I said, well, things that aren't going to happen as I'm on my way to the armory. I'm not going to have to pee. My pupils are going to dilate. I'm going to cut off digestion, like all of these things. And then when I get there and realize that it wasn't a bomb that went off, your parasympathetic nervous system would bring you down. They want you to realize, Myers wants you to realize, what this does when we talk about emotion, because things like you're driving along and something darts out in front of your car, that's going to create the emotion of fear, and things are going to change in your body automatically because of that. So that's why we have to bring in the autonomic nervous system again. Now we're also bringing it in when we furthermore talk about how we experience emotion. I'm asking you a specific question about this in your content notes that you have to fill out. And it's an experiment that was done where we took multiple people and we put them in watching different movies, and we hooked them up and we monitored like their heart rate, their perspiration, things that you can monitor easily that are expressed in your body response. Somebody was watching a scary movie. Somebody was watching a movie that would provoke anger. Somebody was watching a sexually explicit movie. And then someone was watching a boring movie. The people who were watching the scary movie, the movie that would make them angry, and the movie that would make them sexually aroused, all three of those are going to produce a similar body response to where you would not know who was in the horror movie, who was in the anger movie, and who was watching a pornographic movie. Like, you wouldn't know who was watching what because their body responses, by what we can measure, all look the same. The only thing we would be able to pick out is who was watching the boring movie. Okay? Much like when you're riding a roller coaster, it's a similar body experience, like the body response that you're having, even if you're having a super fun, exciting time, than somebody who was being very, very scared. Okay? Your body responses are the same. This supports Shatner-Singer. Shatner-Singer said you have to have a cognitive label to be able to experience emotion. So the horror movie and the movie that would make you feel very, very angry, bottom line, your body is doing the same stuff. Your body response is the same. Your heart rate's going up. Your blood pressure is going up. Your perspiration is going up. So you have to be able to label in your mind and say, this is something I'm scared of. This is something I'm mad at, for you to be able to experience the emotion. Okay, so the physiological similarities among specific emotions support that Shatner-Singer argument. All right. Let's see, polygraph testing, I'm going to skip because we're at home. We would talk about it if we were in class. Shatner-Singer also talked about something that was called the spillover effect. And the spillover effect is basically the concept that you can catch the emotions of other people, like you can catch their germs. You can also catch their emotions. And they did an experiment where they shot people with adrenaline and put them in a room with someone, and either the person was very euphoric, like very happy, or the person was very irritated and angry. And naturally, once the person has like the shot of adrenaline in them and they spend time around another person, they're either going to catch the euphoric feeling, the happy feeling, or they're going to be very, very irritated, like the other person is. So this also is what we think fuels things like what we call mob mentality, or when like a riot breaks out. Why is it that when a riot breaks out, people who are normal, calm, level-headed people jump in on the riot and break windows and destroy public property and all of that, like you see in the image that's right here. How is it that this happens? And this is because the spillover effect. Once somebody starts doing it, it spills over onto other people and they basically catch the emotion and take part in it. Okay? So talking a lot about cognition, being able to think and label, the other big part in your reading is to understand that cognition does not always precede emotion. So this is against Shatner-Singer. What this is saying is that your amygdala, remember Amy G. Dalla is a very angry girl, your amygdala has a huge influence over your body's emotional response. And there are two things that can happen. One's called the low road and one's called the high road. And this is easy to remember because your parents always want you to take the high road in a situation, meaning like you and your friend are arguing and maybe she's not being, or he or she's not being very nice to you. Your parents want you to take the high road, meaning don't necessarily, stoop to their level and be mean back to them. Take the high road, be the one who reaches out and be nice. The low road would be doing something mean or nasty or dirty to your friend. So the low road is where information immediately goes to our amygdala and we react. The high road is when information goes to our cortexes. We think about something before it goes to our amygdala. So if information, a stimulus, enters the low road and goes straight to our amygdala, if your amygdala is activated, remember that's aggression and fear, you're going to react in a negative way as opposed to if the information took the high road. So something happens, takes the low road, you automatically fight someone. Versus if it's the high road, you may not fight them because you have time to analyze the situation. Okay? All right, theory X and theory Y. When we talk about motivation, I'm sorry, this is kind of lumped into here for emotion. Technically, it's more accurate to be in the first thing that we did, but for some reason it's lumped into here. Theory X are how we extrinsically motivate people, which is like people who are lazy have to be motivated this way. And theory Y how we intrinsically motivate people. Bottom line, just remember theory X is extrinsic and theory Y is intrinsic, and that's all you have to remember, and we'll move on from it. The Yerkes-Dodson law is in your book, but it's not necessarily phrased as Yerkes-Dodson. It's called arousal theory, and it's got two bell curves for you for an image in your book. And what this is saying is that there is an optimum level of arousal that everyone has in order to have a peak performance. If there is a difficult task, you want someone to have a low level of stress entering the task. If there is an easy task, you want them to have a high level of stress entering it. So the examples that your book gives you are things like, and I love this example because it's the sport that I love, but running. Running itself is not difficult. Like, yes, it takes a ton of time and a ton of dedication, but the actual act of running is not difficult. It doesn't require a lot of concentration. So somebody who's about to run a track dash, like 500-meter dash or whatever in track, you actually want them to be highly aroused. You want them to have a high level of stress because that's going to make their performance better. Like, you want them to be riled up prior to the gun going off. A basketball player who's about to make a free throw shot. Free throw shots are not easy. They require a lot of concentration. So you want them to be as calm as possible before shooting that ball. So you want them to have a low stress because it's a difficult task. Now, there's your sport analogies. Let's talk about academics. Before going into the AP exam, what do I want you to have? A high level of stress and arousal or a low level of stress and arousal? I obviously want you to have a low level of stress and arousal because it's going to be a difficult task, so I want you to have a low level of stress. Okay, that's optimum level of arousal, and that is also called Yerkes-Dodson law. Okay, and there's your example for it. You can read that and use it. Okay, That's where I'm going to pause for my first video, and we'll pick back up with expressed emotion.